Captain Do-hyun Kim stood at the main viewport of the ESS Horizon, his dark eyes fixed on the massive structure floating in the darkness of space. The ancient station hung there like a giant silver snowflake, its crystalline arms stretching out for kilometers in every direction. After 6 years of deep space exploration, this was the first sign of alien life they had found. "Status report," he said, his voice steady despite the excitement building in his chest. Hae-Nul Park, the ship's chief science officer, looked up from her control panel. Her fingers moved quickly across the holographic display as she gathered the latest sensor data. "The station is approximately 15 kilometers wide, Captain. Power readings are, well, they're unlike anything we've ever seen. Whatever's powering that structure is still running after who knows how many years." The bridge crew worked in focused silence. They had trained for first contact scenarios, but nothing could have prepared them for this moment. The station's design was both beautiful and alien, clearly not built by human hands. "Any signs of life?" Do-hyun asked, turning to face his crew. The bridge of the ESS Horizon was state-of-the-art by Earth standards, but compared to the station before them, their technology suddenly felt primitive. Young-Mi Kang, the medical officer, shook her head. Her short black hair swayed with the movement. "No biological signatures that our sensors can detect. If anyone's home, they're either very good at hiding or very different from what we know as life." Do-hyun nodded slowly. He had learned long ago that rushing decisions in space usually led to disaster. "Sang-min, what's the structural analysis telling us?" Engineer Sang-min Choi scratched his chin as he studied his readings. "The outer hull is made of some kind of crystal metallic composite we've never seen before. But here's the strange part. There's an atmosphere inside. The station is maintaining perfect environmental conditions, as if it's waiting for visitors." "Waiting for visitors," Do-hyun repeated softly. He walked over to the tactical station, where Ji-a-yoon sat alert and ready. "Any defensive systems?" "None that I can detect, Captain," Ji-a replied, her eyes never leaving her screen. "But with technology this advanced, they might have weapons we can't even recognize." The captain returned to the viewport, clasping his hands behind his back. The station sparkled as it caught light from the distant stars. They had come too far to turn back now. Earth was counting on them to find other civilizations, to prove humanity wasn't alone in the universe. Now they had their proof, but what would it cost them to learn more? "Taiwan," Do-hyun called to his genolinguist, "any patterns in the station's energy signatures that might be communication attempts?" Taiwan Lee adjusted his communications headset. "There's definitely something, sir. Regular pulses of energy cycling through the station's outer ring. They're too ordered to be random, but I can't decode them yet." Do-hyun made his decision. "Hae-Nul, prep the shuttle. We'll take a small team to the nearest docking port. Ji, you have the bridge. If anything happens to us, your orders are to return to Earth with all the data we've collected." The next hour was filled with careful preparation. Do-hyun selected his team. Hae-Nul for her scientific expertise, Sang-min for engineering, and Taiwan for communications. They suited up in their exploration gear, sleek white suits with built-in life support and various sensors. As their shuttle approached the station, the scale of the structure became even more impressive. What looked like delicate crystal arms from a distance were actually massive corridors large enough for ships to fly through. They headed for what appeared to be a docking bay, its entrance marked by softly glowing blue lights. "Look at that," Sang-min whispered as they drew closer. "The docking clamps are adjusting to match our shuttle specifications. This place isn't just active, it's adaptive." The docking process was smoother than any they'd experienced. The station seemed to guide their shuttle into place with invisible hands, securing it with a gentle but firm grip. They ran through their safety checks twice before approaching the airlock. "Atmosphere analysis confirms it's breathable," Hae-Nul reported, studying her handheld scanner. "Temperature is a perfect 20 degrees Celsius. It's like someone set this place up for human comfort, which should make us very cautious, Du Hyun reminded them. Keep your helmets on until I say otherwise. Sang-min, you're on point with the engineering scanner. Hey Newell, watch our backs. Tai-1, record everything. The airlock cycled with a soft hiss. As they stepped into the station, lights activated along the corridor ahead of them, creating a clear path forward. The interior was a marvel of engineering. Smooth walls that seemed to flow like liquid metal, yet were solid to the touch. The floor was slightly springy under their boots, absorbing the impact of their steps. Captain, Tai-1 called out, his voice filled with wonder. The energy patterns I detected earlier, they're stronger here. They're changing in response to our presence. Before Du Hyun could respond, a soft blue light filled the corridor. It condensed in front of them, taking shape until it formed what appeared to be a humanoid figure made of light. The figure was neither male nor female, its features pleasant but generic. "Welcome, explorers of Earth," it said in perfect Korean, its voice resonating not through the air, but directly in their minds. "We have waited 247,981 solar cycles for a species to reach this point." The team froze. Du Hyun stepped forward, his training kicking in. "I am Captain Do Hyun Kim of the Earth Spaceship Horizon. We come in peace, seeking knowledge and friendship." The figure's light pulsed gently as it replied, "We know. We have watched your kind grow from your first steps into space. I am the Guardian, an artificial intelligence created by those you would call the Luminary. I maintain this archive and oversee the Great Test." Hae-Newell's scanner whirred as she analyzed the hologram. "This is impossible," she muttered. "The energy readings, it's not just a projection. It's a quantum consciousness." The Guardian turned its gaze to her. "Your understanding of quantum mechanics is primitive but promising. The Luminary mastered the art of consciousness transfer long ago. They left me here to guide worthy species toward a greater understanding of the universe." "The Luminary," Du Hyun said carefully. "Where are they now?" The hologram gestured, and the walls around them became transparent, revealing a view of the galaxy that took their breath away. Stars and nebulae swirled in a cosmic dance, but among them were strange points of light that seemed to exist in more dimensions than the human eye could process. "The Luminary chose to transcend physical existence," the Guardian explained. "They became beings of pure energy and thought, exploring realms beyond your current comprehension. But before they ascended, they created this archive, and the tests that any species must pass to access its knowledge." Sang-min stepped forward eagerly. "Tests? What kind of tests? If you've been watching us, you must know humans are quick learners. We can." "Patience, Sang-min Choi," the Guardian interrupted gently. "That eagerness you display is precisely what the tests will challenge. The Luminary believe that knowledge without wisdom leads to destruction. They watched countless species rise and fall, their own technological advancement outpacing their spiritual and philosophical growth." Do Hyun felt a weight settle onto his shoulders. They had come seeking knowledge, but it seemed they had found something far more complex. "What exactly are you testing?" The Guardian's form shifted, becoming more defined. "We test not your technology, nor your intelligence. Those are young things, easily gained and lost. We test your patience, the true mark of a species ready for the deeper mysteries of existence." The Luminary discovered that only those who can master their desire for immediate gratification are worthy of the power their knowledge brings. The walls returned to their normal state, and the Guardian moved closer to the team. "You have already shown promise by how you approached this station. Your caution, your methodical exploration. These are good signs, but the real tests have not yet begun." "And if we fail these tests?" Du Hyun asked, though he suspected he knew the answer. "Then you will leave with the knowledge that you are not yet ready. No punishment, no destruction. Simply the understanding that your species must grow further before accessing the archives. The choice to participate is yours." The team members looked at each other. They had come so far, and now they stood at the threshold of something greater than they had imagined. This wasn't just first contact. It was a chance to prove humanity's worth to the most advanced species known to exist. Do-hyun squared his shoulders. Before we accept, I need to know, will my crew be safe? The Guardian's light pulsed warmly. No physical harm will come to any of you. The tests challenge the mind and spirit only. But be warned, what seems simple may become maddening. The path to wisdom is paved with frustration. Captain, Ta-1 said quietly, this is everything we came looking for. Not just technology, but understanding. Real wisdom from an advanced civilization. Hanul nodded in agreement. Think of what we could learn, not just about technology, but about consciousness itself. That quantum transfer the Guardian mentioned, it's beyond our current theories. The tests will begin as soon as you accept. The Guardian added, your ship and crew will be provided for, but you four must remain in the station for one full Earth month as the first trial begins. Do-hyun took a deep breath. 6 years of exploration had led them to this moment. He thought of Earth, of the billions of humans waiting to know if they were alone in the universe. Now they had their answer, and a chance to prove themselves worthy of joining a greater community of intelligence. We accept, he said firmly. The Guardian's form brightened. Then let the trials begin. Remember, patience is not passive waiting. It is active understanding. May you learn this truth before frustration overwhelms you. As the Guardian's form faded, the team looked at each other with a mixture of excitement and apprehension. They had just committed themselves to a test created by beings so advanced they had transcended physical existence. Whatever came next would challenge them in ways they couldn't imagine. But they were ready. They were human, after all. And humans had a long history of beating impossible odds. The lights in the corridor shifted, guiding them deeper into the station. Behind them, their shuttle's docking clamps tightened ever so slightly, as if to remind them there would be no quick escape. The first test of humanity's patience had begun. None of them could have guessed just how challenging that patience would prove to be. 3 days had passed since the team accepted the Guardian's challenge. The station had provided them with comfortable living quarters, but comfort wasn't making their task any easier. Captain Do-hyun Kim sat in what they now called the common room, watching his crew deal with their first real test of patience. It's just sitting there, Sang-min said, pacing back and forth. He kept looking at a strange device floating in the center of the room. It was a beautiful cube that changed colors slowly, promising incredible knowledge, but shocking anyone who tried to touch it. All that technology, right in front of us, and we can't study it. Hanul looked up from her tablet. That's the point, isn't it? The Guardian said this is about patience, not technology. She had stopped trying to scan the cube after the second day when all her devices stopped working near it. The cube spun slowly, showing different symbols on each side. Sometimes it would project amazing images, blueprints for advanced ships, plans for clean energy systems, cures for diseases. But every time someone reached for it, they got a small shock, and the image would disappear. I think I'm starting to understand, Ta-1 said quietly from his corner. He hadn't moved much in the last hour, just watching the cube with calm eyes. It's like teaching a child not to grab hot things. You have to learn to think before you act. A soft chime filled the room, and the Guardian's glowing form appeared. Your xenolinguist shows wisdom, it said. But understanding is only the first step. Living by that understanding is much harder. Do-hyun stood up. Guardian, my crew is handling the frustration well, but I need to know, is there more to this test than just avoiding the cube? The Guardian's light pulsed gently. Indeed, this is merely the preparation phase. The real challenge begins now. The being waved its hand, and suddenly all the walls became screens, showing different views of Earth. The scenes were troubling. They showed problems appearing all over their home planet. Nothing dangerous, but incredibly annoying situations. Traffic lights in major cities were malfunctioning, causing huge traffic jams. Internet connections were becoming extremely slow worldwide. Coffee machines everywhere were making tea instead of coffee. These are simulations, the Guardian explained, but they represent real possibilities. Your next test is to watch these events unfold without intervention. You have the knowledge to fix these problems in this room, but using it now would mean failing the test. The crew watched in growing frustration as the situations on Earth got more and more annoying. People were getting grumpy but not hurt. Systems were failing in harmless but irritating ways. This is torture, Sang-min groaned, watching as another traffic jam formed in Seoul. We could fix all of this in minutes with the technology in that cube. But should we? Do-hyun asked, his voice firm. Look closer at what's happening. Hamnul moved closer to one of the screens. The people, they're adapting. Look, they're creating new systems to deal with the problems. She was right. As they watched, people on Earth started finding creative solutions. The traffic problems led to more people sharing rides and creating better public transport systems. The slow internet made people spend more time talking face-to-face. The coffee machine issue led to people learning to appreciate different drinks and taking more breaks. Humans are problem solvers, Taiwan said with a small smile. We don't just wait for things to get better, we make them better. The Guardian appeared again. You begin to see. But watching is not enough. Now you must experience frustration yourselves. Suddenly, everything in their living space began to work slightly wrong. The food machine gave them everything except what they asked for. Their beds became a bit too hard or too soft. The lighting was always slightly too bright or too dim. The temperature stayed just a tiny bit too warm or too cool. Days passed, and the small annoyances began to wear on them. Sang-min tried to fix the systems, but every attempt made things slightly worse. Hae-nul's scientific equipment gave different readings every time she used it. Taiwan's translation programs started mixing up languages in funny ways. But something unexpected started happening. Instead of getting angry, the crew began to adapt. They started making games out of guessing what the food machine would give them. They shared stories during the cold times to stay warm. They learned to work together to overcome each small challenge. Captain, Hae-nul called out on the 10th day. I think I've noticed something interesting. She pointed to her tablet, which now showed random numbers instead of real readings. These aren't just random annoyances. They follow a pattern. Do-hyun looked at her work. Hae-nul had been tracking every malfunction, every irritating moment. When she laid them out in order, a clear pattern emerged. It's a teaching system, Do-hyun realized. Each problem is slightly different from the last. We're not just being tested, we're being taught how to handle frustration better. The Guardian appeared, its light brighter than before. You show remarkable insight, Captain. Most species see only the frustration. They miss the lesson hidden within it. And what is that lesson? Ta-1 asked, looking up from his scrambled translations. That progress is not always about finding immediate solutions, the Guardian said. Sometimes it is about understanding why the problem exists in the first place. As if to prove this point, the cube in the center of the room changed. Now, instead of showing random technology, it displayed scenes from human history, times when patience and understanding had led to better solutions than quick action. Your species is young, the Guardian continued, but you show unusual potential. Most species we test try to fight the frustration. They see it as an enemy to be beaten. But you are learning to work with it, to understand it. Sang-min, who had been quiet for a while, spoke up. I think I get it now. Back home, I always wanted to fix things immediately. But sometimes, rushing to fix something means you miss a chance to make it better. The Guardian nodded. The second phase of your trial is complete. You have learned to see beyond the surface of frustration. But your greatest test still awaits. The screens showing Earth changed again. Now they showed a future, a peaceful, advanced human civilization. But it was clearly a civilization that had developed slowly, solving its own problems instead of using alien technology. "Your final choice approaches," the Guardian said. "Soon, you must decide between quick advancement and true understanding. But for now, rest. Think about what you have learned." As the Guardian faded away, the crew looked at each other. The small annoyances around them continued, but they no longer seemed as bothersome. They had learned to see them as what they were, teaching tools. "Whatever comes next," Du Hyun said to his crew, "we'll face it together. And we'll remember, sometimes the hardest part of learning is learning to wait." That night, as the crew prepared for sleep in their slightly too warm or slightly too cold beds, each of them thought about what they had learned. They had come seeking advanced technology, but they were finding something more valuable: wisdom. The cube continued to spin in the common room, its soft light casting gentle shadows. But now, when it showed its tempting images of advanced technology, the crew no longer felt the urge to grab it. They had learned to appreciate the journey of discovery as much as the destination. As Du Hyun lay in his too soft bed, he smiled. Humanity had always been impatient, always rushing toward the next big thing. But maybe, just maybe, they were learning a better way. The real question was, what would they do with this wisdom when the final test came? The station hummed softly around them, its systems continuing their carefully planned malfunctions. But now these small problems felt less like annoyances and more like old friends, teaching them, one frustration at a time, how to be better than they were yesterday. The true challenge still lay ahead, but they were ready. They were learning. They were growing. And most importantly, they were beginning to understand that some kinds of progress couldn't be rushed. In the darkness of space, the ancient station continued its orbit, its crystalline arms gleaming with the light of distant stars. Inside, 4 humans slept, their dreams filled with visions of a future they were only beginning to understand. The last advanced species had chosen well in their test. Humanity was proving to be more than just another young race rushing toward the stars. They were becoming something more. Something patient, something wise. 2 weeks had passed in the ancient space station. The crew of the ESS Horizon had grown used to their strange new life, but bigger challenges were coming. Engineer Sang-Min Choi made this discovery while exploring the station's lower levels. He found a room filled with working examples of luminary technology. There were machines that could clean Earth's oceans in days, devices that could end all energy problems, and medical tools that could cure most diseases. But like everything else in the station, they were protected by invisible barriers. Sang-Min ran back to find Captain Do-hyun Kim. "Captain, you need to see this," he said, breathing hard from his run. "It's not just the cube anymore. There's so much more." Do-hyun followed Sang-Min to the new room. The sight made him catch his breath. Hundreds of machines filled the space, each one glowing with soft light. Each machine showed what it could do through small holograms floating above it. "This could change everything back home," Sang-Min said quietly. "We could fix so many problems." The Guardian appeared beside them, its light form now familiar to the crew. "Indeed you could," it said. "But remember, quick fixes often lead to new problems." Hae-Nul Park and Tae-Won Lee joined them in the room. Hae-Nul's eyes went wide as she looked at all the technology. "These machines, they're beyond anything we imagined. And now comes your hardest test," the Guardian said. The room's walls changed to show Earth again. But this time, the images were different. They saw their home planet facing real problems. Cities were getting too crowded. The climate was changing faster. Resources were running low. Nothing immediately dangerous, but serious problems that would take years to solve the normal way. "These are real-time images from Earth," the Guardian explained. "Your world faces these challenges now. In this room, you have the solutions to all of them. You could take these machines back and fix everything quickly." The crew looked at each other. They had learned much about patience, but this was different. These weren't just annoying problems. They were serious issues affecting billions of people. But there's a catch, isn't there? Du Hyun asked, already knowing the answer. The Guardian nodded. If you take these solutions now, you fail the final test. You must watch these problems unfold for 3 more Earth days. You must trust your people to find their own solutions. Sang-min walked up to one of the machines, a device that could clean polluted air instantly. His hand stopped just short of touching it. "This is cruel," he said, "making us watch when we could help." "Is it cruel?" the Guardian asked. "Or is it wise? Watch more carefully." The images of Earth changed focus. Now they showed people working on solutions. Scientists were developing new ways to clean the air. Engineers were designing better cities. Communities were coming together to solve local problems. "Your people are more capable than you know," the Guardian said. "They are finding their own paths. Different paths than the luminary took, but perhaps better ones for your species." Taiwan studied the Earth images carefully. "Look at how people are working together," he said. "These problems are forcing us to unite, to think in new ways." But even as they watched their people adapt, the temptation of the luminary technology grew stronger. Every hour brought new challenges on Earth. Every hour, the machines in the room seemed to glow brighter, promising quick solutions. Hanul found herself doing complex calculations in her head. If we took just one machine, the atmospheric cleaner, we could save millions of people from breathing bad air. But would we be saving them or weakening them? Du Hyun asked. The Guardian has been teaching us that quick solutions aren't always the best ones. The next day brought even harder challenges. The screens showed natural disasters starting to form on Earth, earthquakes building up, storms gathering. Nothing deadly yet, but the potential for danger was growing. Sang-min couldn't take it anymore. He walked up to one of the machines, a weather control device. "Captain, we have to do something. We can't just watch." The Guardian appeared again. "Now you face the true test, not just of patience, but of faith. Faith in your own species." The crew spent hours watching the situations on Earth. They saw problems grow, but they also saw something amazing. People were preparing. Communities were getting ready for the storms. Cities were strengthening buildings against earthquakes. Humanity was facing its challenges head-on. "I think I understand now," Hanul said softly. "It's not just about waiting. It's about letting people grow stronger by facing their own challenges." But the real breaking point came on the 3rd day. The screen showed a small coastal town facing a big storm. The weather control device could stop it easily. Sang-min stood by the machine, his hand shaking as he reached for it. "Sang-min, wait," Du Hyun said. He pointed to the screen. The town was evacuating in an organized way. People were helping each other. They had learned from past storms and were better prepared. "They don't need us to save them," Taiwan realized. "They're saving themselves, and they're getting better at it." The Guardian's light grew brighter. "You begin to understand the deepest truth. Technology without wisdom brings more harm than good. Your people are gaining both at their own pace." As they watched, the storm hit the town. There was damage, but no one was hurt. The community came together to rebuild, making their buildings stronger than before. They learned from the experience, growing more resilient. "This is what the luminary wanted us to see," Du Hyun said. "It's not about having the power to solve problems. It's about having the wisdom to know when not to use that power." The Guardian nodded. "Your species is young, but you show remarkable understanding. You have passed this part of the test, but your final challenge still awaits, one that will test not just your patience, but your deepest beliefs about progress and wisdom." As the Guardian faded away, the crew looked at the room full of advanced technology one last time. The machines still glowed with promise, but they no longer felt the desperate need to use them. "Whatever the final test is," Du Hyun said to his crew, "we'll face it with what we've learned. Sometimes, the hardest thing isn't solving a problem. It's letting others solve it for themselves." That night, as the crew rested in their quarters, they thought about everything they had seen. Earth faced real challenges, but humans were proving to be stronger and smarter than anyone expected. Maybe that was the real test, learning to trust in their own species' ability to grow and adapt. The ancient station continued its orbit, holding its incredible technology safe until humanity was truly ready for it. Inside, 4 humans slept, their dreams filled not with visions of advanced machines, but of their own people rising to meet their challenges. The last advanced species had taught them a valuable lesson. True progress comes not from having all the answers, but from having the wisdom to find them at the right pace. The final week of their stay on the ancient station began with a surprise. The Guardian appeared in the common room, but this time its light form was clearer than ever before. The crew could almost see a face in its glowing features. "You have reached the final test," the Guardian said. "But first, I must show you something important." The walls of the room changed, showing scenes from long ago. The crew saw the luminary for the first time. Tall, graceful beings made of crystal and light. They watched as these advanced aliens built amazing cities, cured all diseases, and spread across many galaxies. The luminary became very powerful, the Guardian explained. They could do almost anything they wanted. But they noticed something wrong in the universe. The scenes changed to show other alien species. These aliens got advanced technology too quickly. They weren't ready for it. Some destroyed themselves in wars. Others became lazy and stopped growing. Many just lost their way, forgetting what made them special. The luminary saw this happening again and again. The Guardian continued. That's why they created this test. Not to be cruel, but to help young species grow the right way. Captain Do-hyun Kim nodded slowly. "We understand that now. But what's our final test?" The Guardian waved its hand, and a new door appeared in the room. Through it, they could see a huge library full of glowing data crystals. "This is the complete knowledge of the luminary," it said. "Everything they learned in millions of years, all their technology, all their wisdom." The crew stared in amazement. This was more than they had dreamed of finding when they left Earth. "Your final choice is this," the Guardian said. "You can take a small part of this knowledge home now, maybe 5%, enough to fix many problems on Earth. Or you can wait 5 more years and get all of it." The room went quiet. 5 years was a long time. Earth had problems that needed fixing now. But 5 years for all that knowledge. "There's more," the Guardian added. "The small part you could take now. You won't be able to understand much of it. You'll have the solutions, but not the wisdom behind them. If you wait, you'll get everything, including the understanding of how it all works." Sang-min looked at the library with hungry eyes. Even 5% of that knowledge could help so many people. Henul shook her head. "But without understanding it properly, we might cause more problems than we solve." Taiwan had been quiet, but now he spoke up. "Captain, I think we're missing something. The Guardian keeps talking about wisdom. Maybe there's another way to look at this." Do-hyun turned to the Guardian. "You said this test is about patience, but it's also about understanding, isn't it? About finding our own path." The Guardian's light pulsed brighter. "Go on. What if we don't choose either option?" Do-hyun said. His crew looked at him in surprise. "What if instead we ask for guidance? Not the technology itself, but help in developing our own solutions." The Guardian's form grew even brighter. "Explain your thinking." "We've learned that quick solutions aren't always best," Do-hyun continued. "But we've also seen that our people can solve problems in new ways. What if you helped us learn to solve things ourselves, instead of just giving us the answers?" The Guardian's light filled the whole room now. "In all the times we have given this test, no species has ever suggested this path. They always choose between taking the knowledge now or later. You are the first to see beyond the choice itself." The crew looked at each other as they realized what this meant. They hadn't just passed the test. They had found a new way to think about it. "Your suggestion shows true wisdom," The Guardian said. You understand that the journey of discovery is as important as the destination. This is what the luminary hoped to find. A species that could think differently. The walls of the station became transparent, showing the galaxy around them. But now they could see something else too. Strange points of light that seemed to move in impossible ways. Those lights, the Guardian explained, are the luminary in their current form. They have been watching your test, and they are pleased. A new kind of light filled the room. It was warm and friendly, making the crew feel welcome and respected. The Guardian's form changed, becoming more like the crystal beings they had seen in the historical images. You have earned more than just knowledge, it said. You have earned a place among the guardian species of the galaxy. We will help you grow at your own pace in your own way. You will keep what makes you human, while learning what made the luminary wise. Do-hyun felt tears in his eyes. Thank you, he said simply. We won't let you down. We know, the Guardian replied. That is why you were chosen. Your species has something special. The ability to learn patience without losing your drive to improve. You understand that true progress comes from within, not from outside help. The Guardian showed them a new path forward. Earth would get help, but not in the form of advanced technology. Instead, they would get guidance, hints, and gentle pushes in the right direction. Humans would solve their own problems, but with the wisdom of an ancient species to help them avoid major mistakes. When you return home, the Guardian said, you will not take any advanced technology with you. Instead, you will take something more valuable, understanding. You will help your people find their own path to the stars. The crew spent their last days in the station learning how to be guides for humanity. They learned how to see the bigger picture, how to help without controlling, how to teach without giving away the answers. As they prepared to leave, the Guardian had one last message. Remember, it said, the luminary didn't leave because they had to. They left because they chose to explore something greater than physical existence. One day, humanity might make the same choice. But until then, you have your own path to follow. The crew returned to their ship with empty hands but full minds. They had no new technology to show Earth's leaders, no quick fixes for their world's problems. But they had something better, wisdom, understanding, and a promise of guidance from the universe's most advanced species. As the ESS Horizon turned toward home, Do-hyun looked at his crew. They were different now, calmer, wiser, more patient. They had learned that sometimes the best way to help others is to let them help themselves. The ancient station grew smaller behind them, its crystal arms glinting in the starlight. But they knew it wasn't really goodbye. The luminary would be watching, guiding, helping humanity find its own unique path to the stars. And somewhere in the depths of space, the last advanced species smiled, knowing they had finally found what they were looking for. A young species wise enough to know that the greatest power isn't in having all the answers, but in knowing how to find them.